We all know how to solve linear inequalities, and perhaps you may have seen something like x minus 4 is less than 0. And it's really easy to solve. All you got to do is make this x the subject, and you basically get this thing. And that right there is your answer. On the other hand, quadratic inequalities are actually not that easy to solve. And I'm going to show you guys a really specific method that you got to solve these quadratic inequalities. Now, the first step to this method is to obviously factorize your your quadratic expression. So in this case, I would factorize this. And obviously, if there's nothing over here, we know it's going to be plus 1 in there. So that if I multiply plus 1 and minus 2, I basically get minus 2. And I need two numbers that are going to multiply to give me minus 2, but that are going to add up to give me this minus 1 over here. So those two numbers can be negative 2 and positive 1. So I can now do my middle term break using these two numbers. So it's going to be x squared minus 2x plus 1x, which I can just write as x, then minus 2, and all of this is smaller than 0. Now I can just take out my commons. So this is going to be x minus 2. And if I take a plus 1 common, I can have my x minus 2 as well. So all I got to do is now get my two factors, x plus 1 and x minus 2. And I'm done with my step 1, which was to factorize. Now some of you just may ahead and be like, well, okay, I got my two answers, and my two answers are basically going to be x plus 1 is less than 0, x minus 2 is less than 0, and then one of my answers is going to be plus 2, and my other answer is going to be minus 1. And I'll put this down here. Don't do this. Don't do this. And I'll show you guys why this affects the answer in just a second. Now we've done the first step, which was to factorize. Now the second step is to use a number line. Use a number line. And I'll show you guys how to use this number line. So remember, we got our two factors. The reason I made you guys factorize the equation in the first place was to get these two things. Now what I want to do with these is I want to have an x plus 1 and my x minus 2, and I'm going to put this equal to 0, put this equal to 0 as well, and then I'm going to solve out, get a minus 1, and get a positive 2 over here. Now again, I'm just going to write these are not solutions, so these are not the answers. These are just going to help me make my number line. So I'm going to make my number line. I'm going to have my minus 1 over here, going to have my plus 2 over here. Now you have three regions. You have a region over here, and over here. And what you want to do is you basically want to pick random values from these three regions. So this region, this region, this region, you want to pick up random values. And what you want to do with these random values is you want to put them into this factorized form over here that you got. You got to put them, I mean, you can put them in that or a standard form as well. It's up to you. You're going to put them in one of these forms, and you're basically going to see, is your answer correct or not? So I'm just going to show you guys how that works. So I'm going to write both of these. So this is x squared minus x minus 2 is less than 0. This is the standard form. This thing right over here is going to be the factorized form. And in the first section I'm going to use is this one. So this is minus 1 and anything that's less than minus 1. So minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 100, whatever you want. I'm just going to take a simple value. I'm going to use minus 2. So I'm going to pick up minus 2, and I'm going to put that in. And you can put it in here or put it in there. It's up to you, completely up to you. So I'm going to put my minus 2 in here, so in place of x, right? So minus 2 plus 1 and minus 2 minus 2. I'm going to solve this out. So this is going to be minus 2 plus 1 is just minus 1. Minus 2 minus 2 is just minus 4. Okay, now you got to multiply these two numbers. So a negative number, negative 1, negative 4, that's going to give me positive 4, is less than 0. Is this thing correct or is it not correct? So big no, this is not correct. Right? So that means that this section is basically incorrect. Okay, so now we're on to the next section. For this section, let's pick up any random value between negative 1 and positive 2. So you can go ahead pick a negative 0.5. That's basically between these two numbers. You can go ahead pick 1.5 if you want. You can pick 1.3 if you want. You can pick up anything that you want. I'm just going to pick up 0 because that's between these two numbers. So I'm going to pick up 0, and I'm going to input in, and this time I'm going to input it in this form, the standard form. So this thing is going to be 0. This thing is going to be 0. I'm just going to be left with minus 2 is less than 0. Is this correct? Is minus 2 less than 0? Yes, minus 2 is less than 0. So this is correct. So this section is actually correct. Okay, so now we're at the final section, and anything greater than plus 2, so plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, it's up to you. And I am basically going to pick plus 3. So I'm going to pick up plus 3, so there's going to be plus 3 in here, plus 1, and then there's going to be a 3 in here, minus 2. And 3 plus 1, that's going to be 4. 3 minus 2, that's going to be 1. Is this, 4 multiplied by 1 is just 4. Is 4 smaller than 0? No, it's not. This is not correct. So big cross over here, big cross over there. So the actual answer that I get, the actual correct answer that I get, is basically this interval from -1 to +2. And what is this interval called? How do I can't just say from x is equal to -1 to x is equal to +2. I can't just say that. There's a proper mathematical way to quote this, and I need to use that proper mathematical way. That's basically x is equal to greater than -1, and x is smaller than positive 2. That's the right way to quote this. So basically, any value that is greater than minus 1, but also any value that is smaller than positive 2. That is my answer, this thing right over here. Now, any of you who made this mistake, and they were over here at this step, they were like, okay, one of my answers is x is equal to less than positive 2. This is x is equal to less than minus 1. You can clearly see your answer does not match with the correct answer right over here. So the correct answer is this, and this thing is actually the wrong answer. This thing is wrong. This thing is wrong. What this thing means is that basically x is less than minus 1 and x is less than minus 2. So if you go on our number line, that would basically mean that less than positive 2, so over here less than positive 2, and less than negative 1. But we clearly found out that this region gives us wrong answers. So this thing is actually wrong. So do not make this mistake. All you got to do is you got to first factorize, then you basically got to use a number line. Those factors that you found out, you're going to put them equal to 0, and you're going to find these 2 points of interest. Okay, and then you're going to put them on a number line. And you put them on a number line, you're going to get your sections, and then you're going to check those sections into either this equation or into that equation. I mean, they're both the same equation, it's just different forms. You're going to check that, and then you're going to get the right answer. Now, let's say if your answer was something like this, let's say on your number line, your answer was, let's say, something where you had these two regions. So this was minus 1, this was plus 2. And let's say this region was correct, and this region was correct, and this region was wrong. Then what you will do is then you will basically say, okay, so x is less than minus 1, and x is greater than positive 2. So that would basically be like x is less than minus 1, and x is greater than positive 2.